Good morning, guys. Um, Welcome to this Friday, August 15th. And we got a market which is moving higher, still in the overnight, stubbornly grinding this to the upside. I'm still waiting for them to knock it down, but I keep getting proved and proven wrong. So yesterday we had a couple of these last two trading days have been both of them holding patterns. Yesterday was the first one which did not extend, but now in the overnight we extended to the upside. So we are back on again. So it looks very much like we are in a spot where we can take this higher. We'll see how far they're going to go until we see some profit taken. I heard some guy talk about a profit taken after the option expirations. I think maybe it's next Friday or whenever that is, but I don't think it's this Friday. But third Friday is going to be option expirations, and I think that maybe we see some profit taken or some weakness after that. But I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. At this point, though, we're starting off range bound, and bias going to be to the upside. News-wise, though, we have a ton of news this morning. We have um, we have retail sales and Empire State at 8:30, right from the get-go. 9:15 we get industrial production, and at 10 o'clock we get business inventories and consumer sentiment. So we had news at 8:30, 9:15, and 10 this morning. So fairly busy morning. And then we'll see how things kind of settle in after that. But the way it looks to me, there's no reason not to trade it from the long side of the market. I mean, you've seen also what happens if they can't really go. They usually tend to have a pretty good retracement, not necessarily a sell-off, but they retrace most of the whole range and then stall and then go back up again a little bit. It's been a kind of a pattern now. The after it's a nice little run up here and then start a slow grind right back down again throughout the day. But it's anyone's guess. I would since they're still extending, we're still staying on the long side of the market, and we're still looking to buy weakness. So at this point, looking to buy against the 64.85s, the 75s, 65s, 60s. Below 60s, I would take off the long bias and go back and range bound, looking at the potential move to the downside. I would actually, well, I should say I should start leaning towards the short side below 60s. I would go back range bound already below that 75. That's what I would do. If it backs off more than a couple of levels like this, usually you get more of a rotation down or a slow grind to the downside after that. So slow daylight, slow markets like this, not a whole lot of volume, but they're grinding higher. A little bit of strength to ride from the get-go, and if they start pulling back below that 65 or 64.75, taking off the long bias, below 64.60s, we basically start thinking about the short side and more of a retracement trade at below that one. And that would be this nice little ledge right there. It starts trading below that ledge. Yeah, then we have a pretty good shot at running it down to that 6400 level. So that's kind of how we get started this Friday. Pretty straightforward. Voice is getting slightly better. Looks it sounds like shit, I guess, but not much I can do about it. Uh, Looking at the Nasdaq and the bond market, in big move yesterday to the downside. They were kind of holding this. We kind of repriced. They were way up here in the overnight, and the news came out. The PPI number that's absolutely collapsed right down here to the 114.20s, and since then they've pretty much been holding there. So we are right back in this lower range again. So I'm just gonna fold this back together like this, and there you have it. They were up here, now they're right back into the value area again. So. No relief on the yields. Higher prices, lower yields. That's kind of what you want to see, especially the long-term debt, so that you can get the mortgage prices or mortgage rates down. Tied to the rates are pretty much tied to the 10-year, so that's kind of what needs to come down. Looking at the Nasdaq, and Nasdaq is a pretty good move to the upside as well. It stalled. It did not extend yesterday. Did not extend in the overnight either. So Nasdaq feels a little bit weaker than the ES. So at this point, we're basically pretty much looking at this guy to move, start off sideways. So I'm going to start off range bound on the Nasdaq since they haven't extended. and just look flat as range bound trading and see if they start trading above that 24,000, I'll be back on the long side. If they start trading below that 840s, I'll be on the short side of this. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So I'm going to sell strength 950s, 990 to 24,000s. Last one would be the 24,060s, but I've already shifted my bias by then. And below the looking to buy weakness 870s, 840s. Last one would be down here at the 800s, but below the 840s, I already shifted my bias to the downside. So I always give it one level below the obvious on the Nasdaq because it kind of moves a whole lot more than anything else. But if you start trading outside of yesterday's range, I think we may have a direction going. So that's the logic behind that. So that's Nasdaq and the so Nasdaq range bound ES starting off from the long side. Looking at the oil and gold. The oil is not going anywhere. They were up here towards the 64s, reverse retested it, and backed off in the overnight. Still pretty darn range bound, and I will not be worried about a lot of directional moves on oil right now. We may see some reactions based on the summit, the Trump-Putin summit on oil and gold later on in the session here. We'll see when it becomes clear if we get any of that before the market close. But it's going to be at least at this point we have a move out of the middle. Looks like it's coming to balance, and yeah, it's going to sit there for a bit, go sideways around the 63, 64s. And next attractor down is going to be at the 61, 62s. That's just a lower edge right now, so we'll see where they're going to go. But I would start off range bound on oil at this point. If anything, I would still favor the short side. See if you look to sell strength against the 6360s, 64s, up to the 6450s for rotations back down. But as I said, I mean, it's starting off range bound, and if I get an opportunity to get short, I'll may take that. But it's I would favor the short side at this point, even though I'm starting off today range bound, as I said. So buying against the 6310s and the 6250s down to the 6225s for rotations back up again. Let's see where they're going to go. And then the gold kind of ran out of gas a bit. It looks like they're holding in a pretty tight range. Yesterday they probed a little bit lower, backed off a little bit in overnight. I'm starting to think that we may see a nice probe to the downside here in gold again. That gold tariffs freak out. They spooked these guys and they ran it all this. Do you remember all this whole thing? All this gold tariff freak out. But if they take out these low, they're all taking out the 80s. They bounced off that. So I'm thinking that they are pretty darn close to just keep running this down to the 40s. So they start taking out support here at the 80s or the 75s. Not necessarily, I'm going to probably wait for the 76s, but the 76, 75, 76 level comes out and look for a short rotation down to the 45s at that point. And that can happen pretty quick. It's going to be like in one of those violent moves to the downside. They just run right down there. By the time you see the chart, it's already done. But that's kind of the dynamic. And if they can't, if the support area holds here at 82 or 76, then we probably have a good rotation of trading back up in this range again. So starting off range band, I would favor the short side just to get started. And then let's see if they can take this lower or not. All right, so that's how we get started on oil and gold. Back to the ES. And we are pretty much where we left it. So we got some news coming up in about 15 minutes. And then we'll take it from there. Volume-wise, 100,000 on the micros. 92, okay volume, not too bad. Not super light by any means. So decent volume. And we got some news coming up. So get ready for some fun. Alright, guys, it's Friday, so don't do too much crazy stuff. So good trading, guys, and I will see you back at 11:30 for the next update.